The sun is finally setting on the USL Championship regular season. 34 weeks have come and gone in the blink of an eye, and here we are on Judgment Day. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds welcoming the Phoenix Rising to Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Happy to have you with us this evening on ESPN Plus alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. More straightforward in the East. The top teams are the top teams. There's only one spot up for grabs, and these Pittsburgh Riverhounds have a pretty simple and straightforward scenario ahead of them tonight that could actually be made easier a couple of moments from now. Pittsburgh, with a win, clinches a home playoff game. Simple as that.
And that's what they want to do in front of their home crowd, the same crowd that will turn out for that first playoff match. Augie Williams, what a player they have up front with him there. They have every chance of getting that victory tonight.
And this is a team that always has just found a home here at Highmark Stadium. Such a difficult environment for opposing teams to come in and play. The dimensions, the turf, the noise from the fans, and also going up against this Pittsburgh backline. They've always been stout. That's why our player to watch presented by Modelo is Sean Suber.
Well, not only is he very good defensively, he scored in back-to-back goals. A great near-post header from a corner versus Indy, and a tap-in last week at the far post versus Monterey Bay. So he's doing it at both ends of the pitch.
While things are pretty straightforward overall in the East, Gary, that's not the case in the Western Conference here, where Phoenix tonight could end up in 4th, they could end up in 9th. This is going to be a jumbled mess that is going to be fun to watch as the day goes along.
It certainly is, but I mean, a lot of results have to go against them, including them losing here today for them not to make the playoffs. I'm sure they're looking positively, thinking if El Paso don't win and we do, then we will get a home game, and that's what they're aiming for.
And this is the exact scenario. All they need is a point in this game. Win or draw, Phoenix clinches a playoff spot. They can clinch top 4 in a home game with a win and an El Paso loss, or as you alluded to, if Phoenix lose and all 4 of those other teams, Switchback, San Antonio, Orange County, and Lexington lose or draw, then Phoenix is out. So they should make it, and they will make it if Hope Avelleva was on top of his game.
He's joined first in USL in assists. He's had a wonderful season there, not only scoring goals, but certainly helping the team with those assists. He's created 50 chances, which is 6th in the USL. He's there, one of their key players here tonight.
This is what you live for as a player. These are the days and weekends you look forward to as a fan. It is Judgment Day in the USL Championship. It's Pittsburgh looking for a home playoff game. It's Phoenix looking for a playoff spot, and it's next on ESPN Plus.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams? To build them from scratch, from the heart. For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
Tip the scales. More life, less work. That's balance. Clock out and step onto scenic hiking trails where colorful views guide the way. Experience fall in Pennsylvania's Laurel Highlands the way it was meant to be. Bold, beautiful, and breathtaking. Find your adventure or kick back and relax. Your work will be waiting when you get back. It's all about balance. Make fall happen at GoLaurelHighlands.com.
Ready to get things going in Pittsburgh. First, a look at the starting lineups presented by IC Light, brewed for victory.
No changes from the team that beat Monterey Bay 3-0 away, and why would you? What they want to try and do is get some service there to top scorer Augie Williams. 9 goals this season. Luke Biasi wide on the right. Junior Edson on the left, and just behind them, Robbie Mertz and Charles Orr will all be looking to supply the one and only Augie Williams.
On the other side again, lineup brought to you by IC Light Brew for victory for Phoenix Rising. 3 changes from last week's group, but for some very different reasons.
2 of them because of injuries to Daniel Flores and Colin Smith, the 2 fullbacks, both injured. So Ryan Flood comes in and Rafael Shihus, and then 1 tactical change, JP Skeers in midfield for Nabel Okello, who drops to the bench. Charlie Dennis with 4 goals in the last 4 matches is a form player, so expect Johnson Avayevu to try and supply him with opportunities here tonight.
It's an interesting cross-conference matchup, the way the chips fell when the schedule came out. These 2 teams don't meet often. They met once each the last 2 years. A 1-0 Pittsburgh win on this field 2 years ago, a 3-1 Pittsburgh win in Phoenix last year. So 3rd meeting all time. Both of the previous 2 have gone Pittsburgh's way. During the open of our broadcast a moment ago, we alluded to the fact that while we were in commercial, essentially, we would know more about Pittsburgh's scenario tonight. Again, it's win and clinch a home playoff game next week. It could have been draw and clinch a home playoff game had North Carolina and Loudoun finished in a tie. While we were in break, final whistle blew there. North Carolina won it 1-0. So, for the time being, Pittsburgh still need to win to clinch a home playoff game. That could change again a half hour from now when Louisville and Hartford kick off, because if Louisville win at home against Hartford, then all Pittsburgh would need again is a draw. Hope you got all that. If not, it's okay. We'll be rehashing it throughout the night. But as Pittsburgh kicks off here at home, the scenario is win and play in front of these fans again next week. Phoenix, win or draw, and you're playing again next week. Lose, you still might be okay, but you are leaving it to fate. And we are ready to get things going now at Highmark Stadium. Phoenix right to left in the red, Pittsburgh left to right in their trademark black and yellow. Matthew Corrigan, the referee, sends us on our way. It is Judgment Day in the USL Championship. It is the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Phoenix Rising from Pittsburgh. Gary, you and I always coming into games like this try to surmise maybe what we think might come of a game like this, but you have 2 teams who are so opposite. Phoenix concede a lot, score a lot. Pittsburgh don't score much, don't concede much. Pittsburgh are more of a 1-0 team. Phoenix is more of a 4-3 team, so it's definitely an oil and vinegar type of stylistic game tonight.
I guess if you're the neutral, you want the 4-3 game. But to your point, Pittsburgh 3rd best defense in the East. Phoenix 3rd worst defense in the West. And as you said, it flips the other way. Pittsburgh 3rd lowest goals scored in the East. Phoenix the highest in the West with 48. So yeah, it could go either way. I think these fans, although, are just pumped to get this win that you mentioned, or potentially a draw might do it, but they want to play safe, get a win, and come back next week and do it all again.
Looking over the top here to Charlie Dennis, as you mentioned, 4 goals in 4 games. Not scoring in each of those 4 games, to be clear. He scored in 3 of the 4, but one of them was a brace against Oakland. So 4 total goals in the last 4 games for Charlie Dennis. It's interesting the way Phoenix has it stacked on a night like this up top, where they have Isan Sako coming off the bench and Remy Cabral possibly coming off the bench. Darius Johnson, Hope Avayevu, and Charlie Dennis. You'll see all 3 of them cycling in that central position at some point while they're up there.
And that's why they get a lot of goals, is they have goal scorers both starting the match and off the bench, whereas for Pittsburgh, 2 of your players up front, Charles Orr and Robbie Mertz, are effectively attacking midfielders. So what they do is they just overload that midfield. 3 at the back, 6 in the middle effectively, and Augie Williams up front.
Eric Dick is on the outskirts of the Golden Glove race tonight, but it would take a calamity in Louisville, essentially, for Eric Dick to rise and beat Damian Lass, who pretty much has had that Golden Glove locked up for the last couple of weeks, the way Louisville's been playing especially. But he is in contention.
I think Louisville have got most of the awards locked up. They've just been absolutely fantastic this season. That's why they're sitting top of the USL.
Mertz looking through. It's cleared by Shihus. It's actually an interesting stat that was passed our way for that Louisville-Hartford game tonight. It is the first time in league history that you have 2 teams meeting in the regular season who have already won a trophy this season.
Oh,
Louisville
yes.
have won the Players' Shield, and Hartford won the Jägermeister Cup, and they meet tonight. So for the first time in league history, 2 teams who won a regular season trophy are meeting in that same regular season, the way things worked out.
Well done, Hartford. They have been absolutely brilliant from, I'm guessing, around about early May onwards. Slow start to the season. All sorts of pressure on Brendan Burke. But since then, probably alongside Louisville, they have been the form team across the entire USL.
Happy to have those of you with us tonight that may or may not even be Pittsburgh or Phoenix fans, because this, for the next 25 minutes, is the only show in town until we get 7:30 Eastern kickoffs between Louisville and Hartford and Tampa Bay in Detroit. Floated in toward Augie Williams. Shout for a handball there. It's for a corner. The point by Matthew Corrigan. It seemed like they might have had an argument there.
We spoke about getting service to Augie Williams. That's exactly what that was. A lovely ball from out wide. Floated up from Junior Eto, gets the header down. It'd be hard to call it a penalty unless your arms were well wide, because you haven't got much chance to react. Might even have come off his head there, Carl Sainty.
I think you're right. I don't think it actually ever made contact with his hand. Came right off the nose and down out for a corner. From that corner, to you by Cohen. No trouble defensively for Phoenix. Griffin steps into some space, goes for a goal. Augie Williams was waiting on the backside and out for a goal kick.
It was very close at the back stick there, Augie Williams, and that's, as we said earlier, that's how they play this game. He's such a wonderful striker, second most goals all time in USL, highest of active players. When you have a player of that quality, you just want to sort of make sure the rest of the team services him up front, and so far they put a couple of little teasing balls in for Augie Williams.
This is really the calm before the storm right now in USL Championship. Things will pick up over the next half hour to an hour. Things will pick up pretty quickly here, Gary, as we take a look at the keys to the game. Building a win presented by 84 Lumber. What do you got for us?
As far as Pittsburgh are concerned, overload midfield. We've discussed that with Robbie Mertz and Charles all coming back and trying to just dominate possession in the middle. And as far as Phoenix are concerned, front three applying pressures. Things have got a little bit heated here. The front three applying pressure, which is something Pamadou Carr, the coach, said his front three are really good at being the first line of defense, and against San Antonio last match they were superb up front in terms of their defensive work.
You can already sense the intensity between these two sides and what this game means just from this one encounter as Pop Marboy went to clear. He didn't really take too kindly to Junior Eto lunging in the way he did. Were his studs showing? They weren't flat up, but the studs ended up getting the top of Pop Marboy's foot.
I think he's probably making the point, Pop Marboy, he was going to clear the ball. You're very dangerous to lunge in on a player who clearly is going to get to the ball and clear it. And that, I think, that just proves that it's a match that both teams want to win, because that was a brave tackle, although probably not the best one to do, and certainly annoyed the captain there, Pop Marboy.
One other interesting scenario as this night unfolds. You talk about the way things work out sometimes in your favor in a situation like this. It could end up where a 0-0 draw behooves these two teams. We hope we don't get there to that point with these two teams sitting back and playing for 0-0. But again, remember, if Louisville end up taking a 2-3 goal lead on Hartford whilst this game is going on, all Phoenix need is a point to make the playoffs. All Pittsburgh need is a point if Hartford lose to clinch a home playoff game. So just something else to keep in mind if this game goes on, and there's word from elsewhere that Louisville is beating up on Hartford. This result is okay for both these teams. So this game could have the natural ebbs and flows of any game that you see, but also some situational-based ebbs and flows if Pittsburgh want to park the bus, if Phoenix want to park the bus. Again, we hope we don't get there for you, for the neutral, who want to see entertaining football end-to-end tonight, but it's our job to keep you abreast of all scenarios, and that is something that could come to pass if Louisville jump out quickly on Hartford. And Louisville are chasing history tonight, a win for Louisville, and they would set the best regular season mark ever in terms of a points-per-game basis. So they are still chasing that tonight, Louisville.
Well, certainly from what you see so far, it seems like both teams are going flat out to get the win that they want. And Pittsburgh, you could just see Augie Williams a few minutes ago just turning to all the rest of the players and you know, fists in their face saying, come on, we've got to go. I think as players, you want to get there off your own efforts and not rely on others. But should you get a signal from the bench at some stage that points enough? Absolutely, then tactics would change.
And then there's still the overarching scenario of Phoenix with a win and El Paso loss getting a home playoff game. Remember, Phoenix is the team that can move the most in the entire league tonight. They could finish as high as 4th, or they could be on the outside looking in. It's going to be a fun night, to say the least. Here's Robbie Mertz. Both these teams have won each of their last 2 games and would like to keep that momentum going into next week when the playoffs begin. Phoenix know all too well what having that momentum can do. 2023, they were the hot team. They got in. They never lost again. They lifted the trophy. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, see the flip side of that. You go back to that season, and they're a team that lifts the Players' Shield and then loses in the first round to Detroit City as the #1 seed.
And I think that's why Pittsburgh are pushing hard for a home game. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but they have struggled. They've made it now for the 8th consecutive year they've made the playoffs, but they have struggled to go further. So a home game helps them. For Phoenix, you go back 2 years, they won every game on the road. It was 4 games in total, isn't it? They won them all on the road. Absolutely brilliantly, just defending superbly. And you get the sense that, you know, away at North Carolina, they got that win 2 games ago, and you look at it and think, wow, here they go again, winning tough match. Look at North Carolina now, sitting in 3rd spot in the East. You think this is the Pittsburgh, this is the Phoenix of 2 years ago. So maybe they're not too bothered about not having a home playoff. Phoenix, certainly for Pittsburgh, they would love one.
Free kick on the way for Rising. A look at tonight's injury report brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Clean bill of health for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds as they're set to enter the playoffs. Longer list for Phoenix. They've had some injuries to deal with as this year's gone along, yet they've always found a way, plugging different guys into different holes, and Pamadou Ka has just done an outstanding job of rallying the troops as the years evolved. Dennis drops it in the free kick. No trouble for Eric Dick.
Yeah, good header one though, but no pace there coming off JP Scarce. And just shows you again, set pieces, he can be very useful, and you were suggesting before the game that maybe that's why they brought him in place of Okello, that he can be a danger man on set pieces.
Scarce has just re-upped for a contract extension as well in recent weeks. A 27-year-old local product for Phoenix Rising. Joined the club last year after a few stellar years in League One with Omaha, where he lifted trophies. Comes out for a strike by Jean-Eric Morceau, and left it wide.
And it's 2 matches that interim, or is it acting head coach, not quite sure which of the 2 it is, Rob Vincent has been in charge, and 2 wins. And after all the years of Bob Lilly and the incredible success he's had, it continues under Rob Vincent for the moment, while Bob Lilly's on administrative leave.
And whether it's interim or acting, it's 2 wins, Gary. I think that's all that matters for them, whatever you want to call it in terms of the title. Rob Vincent has come in and helped this team what is so far a strong closing kick to the season. I'd like to keep it going with a 3rd straight win tonight, going into a home playoff game next week. Augie Williams earns a corner.
You were telling us, Rob Vincent, he hasn't made any real changes. It's the same basic lineup that Bob Lilly's always had. He's maybe tweaked a couple of things. They're very small things that are more about his personality being different to Bob's. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. I think he was the top goal scorer back in 2015, wasn't he?
And it was an interesting note, the way he phrased it, to your point. Every coach is going to see this game slightly different, even if they agree on their overall principles in terms of a formation and how to play the game. And it's those subtle nuances that have seemed to help Pittsburgh these last couple of games. Now Mertz drops in the corner. Comes out for a volley through a lot of traffic. Out for a goal kick. To your point, Rob Vincent, more of an attack-minded coach. Bob Lilly has always been a more defensive-minded coach. So even though the structure and the personnel may be the same from what it was a few weeks ago to what it is now. It's those subtle nuances of an attacking-minded coach versus a defensive-minded coach that have seemingly opened the doors here for Pittsburgh in the closing weeks.
Well, I guess if you're a striker for the club, which he was, Rob Vincent, back in 2015, and top goal scorer that season, it's in his nature to want to attack. Maybe we'll see more of that from Pittsburgh here tonight.
All to Biasi. Luke Biasi floating back post. Augie Williams lurking. Pop Marboy was there defensively with a group of players. Very tight defensively, Phoenix, when they get those guys back there. Axel Asenge, who's the acting right back tonight, is more of a center back by trade. Of course, Pop Marboy and Rafael Chias, the center backs. Carl Sainty in the midfield, also a center back that can drop back. So when they're back defensively, they can be very compact with all those players. Sample. Danny Griffin. Edrach stepping up a bit off the back line. Worked through for Mertz. Wide for Biasi. Back inside to All. Some contact there. Enough to yield a penalty.
I thought the foul was actually on the Phoenix player to begin with. Not what Charles All is saying, but let's have a look. Well, maybe not. And second thoughts, maybe not. When you get to see it there, if the tackle's on the back of Charles All's ankle, and maybe could have been a penalty. Hard to see. So if it's hard to see for us, it's very hard to see for the referee, Matthew Corrigan, in real time.
And a good time to remind you here early on that VAR not part of the equation. So the call made is the call that stands. Quarter of an hour in, Pittsburgh and Phoenix scoreless here on the final day of the USL Championship regular season. For now, this is the only game going on. We saw two games wrap up earlier. Charleston finished with a win over Birmingham. They're in second in the East, and they'll host a playoff game next week. We saw North Carolina beat Loudoun on the road against Loudoun, so it puts, for the time being, North Carolina in a home playoff game position. They would lose out on that if Pittsburgh win here. Also of note in that Charleston game, Cal Jennings scored. That puts him on 17, tied for the most in the league with Peter Wilson of Oakland, who plays later. Tiebreaker would go Cal Jennings' way with the better assist tally. So the Golden Boot will come down to our final window of games at the 10 p.m. Eastern hour when Oakland hosts Lexington. A game where Lexington need to win to get into the postseason. So those are the different little things that are being played for. As far as hardware goes on the field tonight, also Hope Avayevu tied for the Golden Playmaker Award in terms of the league leader in assists. He's sitting on 10. So tonight we wrap up the playoff spots, we wrap up the awards, and then we dust ourselves off and start next week in the postseason.
Interesting. Peter Wilson could be the Golden Boot winner for a team that doesn't make the playoffs. Strange how that would happen. And of course, for Miami FC, they're one of the top Golden Boot
no offense
there as well.
No offense to Bonfilio, who you're referencing for Miami. I don't think he's scoring 4 on the road in Sacramento tonight. So he's in the mix.
He's in the mix,
He's
but
in
he
the
was
mix.
close. But again, for a team that doesn't make the playoffs, you think, well, if you've got the top goal scorers,
It's rare.
It's
rare. We've seen it. 2022, Milan Lasky won the Golden Boot with Orange County for a team that was bottom of the table. But the last 2 years, to your point, Nick Marcanic won it last year for a top Charleston team. The year prior, Albert Dikwa won it here for a top Pittsburgh team. Usually there's obviously a correlation between that, but go back 3 years and Milan Lasky bucked that trend that we're going to see from Peter Wilson possibly later tonight. That's been an incredible run, though, for Peter Wilson. The majority of those goals have all come in the last 2 months of the season. He has a chance to set a goal-scoring streak record tonight in USL Championship if he scores. It actually came against Phoenix, a game where he got benched for such a poor first half. Ever since then, he's been a machine. Skiers recovers. Flood drops it back. More so for Asenge. And now Charlie Dennis likes to cut in on that left foot of his. Covered by Griffin. Suber.
Very tight, isn't it? The first 18 minutes or so, that no one's got much time to breathe on the ball here. Just looking back at last matches, both these teams limited their opposition in terms of expected goals. And in particular, Pittsburgh went away to Monterey Bay, got 2.15 expected goals and just limited the home side to 0.5. They give you nothing. And Phoenix were even better at home. They limited San Antonio to 0.25. So we're back to that same question. Is it going to be a 1-0 type of game or a 4-3? I think it's sort of, looking from what we've seen so far, I think it's suggesting it's going to be more of a 1-0 type of game. A little bit of a handout there in the face of Charles All.
To be fair to Phoenix, again, for as chaotic as some of their games have been, you look at their stretch of 5 straight ties that they had, for example, from the end of August to the end of September. Some of those score lines, 3-3, 2-2, 2-2, 3-3 in that stretch. But since then, their last 3 games, a 1-0 loss and then a pair of clean sheet victories. So they have tightened things up, even though that hasn't been their trend all season long.
Well, maybe we'll look to the goal scorers. There's 2 players, one on each side, have scored in back-to-back matches. Sean Suber for Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Charlie Dennis for Phoenix Rising. So maybe those 2 will come up with some little bit of magic and get a 3rd game in a row in which they've scored.
Nice touch it behind, the volley goes wide. It seemed like there was nothing there. All of a sudden, Biasi nearly turned it into the spectacular.
Wasn't far wide, was it? Nice little bit of interplay. Gets in there, and it's a good first touch. That's what sets it up for him. His first touch kills the ball and puts it right in front of his right foot. He's able to almost control and hit in one move, and it just flashes wide.
Minutes gone, still scoreless. Pamadou Ka looking on, hands in pockets. He's done a really good job this year of navigating the ups and downs of the personnel he's had to work with for Phoenix. He's had injuries, he's had players come and go. A team that lost arguably their top player in Gerald Margarita because the club did right by him and let him go back home to Europe at the midpoint of the season. Etu looking, gathered by Rakowski. So you factor in the injuries, you factor in Margarita moving on, and other players like a Braxton Montgomery earlier in the year who was starting on the back line but opted to go the college route. He's starring now at Rutgers collegiately. He's had to just find different ways, plug in different players. Pamadou Ka's not been afraid to play guys who have come up on academy contracts and start them. Pierce Rizzo, available on the bench tonight again, came in for a few big games. He's just found a way all season long while relying on a few key guys, of course, but the periphery, the cast has been a revolving door, and the production has just constantly been there.
And if you look at this Pamadou Ka, as you say, done so well this season, but he'll want it to obviously flow through into the playoffs. He's doesn't always seem happy. I think he has very high standards, and whenever we chat to him, he's generally expecting more from his players. But he has had to deal with a lot of change. We were just saying Patrick Rakowski in picture there is probably, as far as I can think, the only player who was there a couple of seasons ago when they won the championship. That's only 2 years back. Everybody else is new, and probably that applies probably to most of the players on the bench as well. So with that level of turnover, it's been a lot of work settling players in and creating that culture at the club that everybody buys into.
Darek Formella there as well, but that's it. It's those 2 guys, and really haven't been able to tap into some of those reserves of experience. The only thing that you can say is maybe a lot of the players who were on this year's team joined last year, and a lot of the 2023 players were holdovers in 2024. This one's played through for Etu, and it's out for a corner. So a lot of the players on this team brushed elbows with and played with the 2023 guys last year. So they took those stories, they took that experience into this year. To your point, the only 2 guys presently on the roster tonight for Phoenix who were on that 23 team, Patrick Rakowski in goal, Darek Formella on the bench. corner for Rakowski on this Phoenix side to contend with. Dropped into that same area that it's been, but again, it's Skiers rising to meet it. Flicked on by Dennis. Avu went down looking for a call. Charles Hall goes down in a heap, and he does draw the free kick. Back behind the play, Avievu still down for Phoenix.
It was a nice play down the right-hand side by Phoenix before this injury. Nice little interplay, some nice touches from Hope Avievu. A little bit of a back heel we saw as well. Charles Hall not happy. He's had a few bumps and bruises. There's the first one. There's the back heel. Lovely touch. Great bit of skill there. Coming up there. Sorry, just a stamp on the toe perhaps after the ball was won. And let's see on this one, that is late. So no question about the second one. The first one very hard to see.
Avievu still chatting with the assistant referee on the far side, pleading with him as if he might have had a better view of what happened and asking why a call wasn't made over there. Again, the call made over here, and the free kick for Pittsburgh coming. They don't have anybody sent up into the box as if they want to go and deliver this one into a good spot. Looks like they're going to go short. At 2. Ricochets around favorably nearly for Mertz. Asenge has it covered. Throws it out though for a corner. Felt he could have done more there.
I think he thought that somebody was going to clear it in front of him, one of his teammates, and then in the confusion just didn't know where the players were, the attackers were behind him. But you're right, he sort of gave away the corner a little bit too easily. But sometimes if you lose track of where you are, by the time you figure it out, you could have the ball taken off your toes. So he just played it safe.
Mertz, better service this time, loose in front. Vactor nearly was blocked by Potmar Boy in the mix. Out wide again to Mertz, who started this all with his corner. Mertz, fronted by Asenge, works it back. At 2, delivering now. Johnson flicks it on out to midfield. You can enter the Brinks Tires Family Game Day Kit sweepstakes for a chance to win a prize pack worth up to $4,000. Scan the QR code on your screen to enter today. Dennis brought down. Play on for Avievu. Skiers, excuse me. Now Dennis along to Flood. Johnson gave it away. Quiet so far for Augie Williams. He's very much, though, a service player. We won't hear from him much until that service is there. Dennis. Blasted toward goal by Asenge. Hopeful, especially against a keeper like Eric Dick, and out for a goal kick.
Again, very, very tight first part of this match. Charlie Dennis there just giving some ideas to try and stretch the match. It's a fairly narrow pitch. There isn't much space to play on, and as soon as you get the ball, you get hunted down here in packs from both sides. So both sides defensively very good. They're just making it difficult for anyone to get much time on the ball. I do think, though, Pittsburgh are more used to that style of play on this particular home ground of theirs.
The official measurement from the grounds folks, but if you ever want to eyeball the width of a pitch, that hash mark right side of your screen there is supposed to be 10 yards from the corner flag. The box is 44 yards across. So you look at the little area between that hash mark and the box, it doesn't look like it could be more than 2 yards. So my estimation is it's about 67, 68 yards wide. So it's a few yards on either side, more narrow, of course legal, but on the narrower side of what is allotted. So that's always why we've seen teams in some of these compact battles against Pittsburgh. Dennis can score from anywhere with that left foot, and you could see the fear on Eric Dick's face as he scampered to his post. You cannot let Dennis, especially with the form he's in, shoot from anywhere inside of midfield.
I think that's the key point. The form he's in, 4 goals in 4 matches. And he's got the confidence, the belief that if he can get in the right position, what is he there, 30 yards out? It's a long way out, but he's got the confidence to have a dip there. And he's also getting, I think, a bit frustrated that they're not getting balls into the box. They can't get much width. So he's thinking, well, you know what? If we can't do it by going wide, maybe we'll just do it by having a shot from just outside the box.
Nearly a half hour gone. We're about to have some company. Louisville and Hartford moments from kickoff. Detroit City and Tampa Bay moments from kickoff. That's really the interesting one of the night as far as jockeying for playoff position in the Eastern Conference. Tampa Bay essentially need to beat Detroit City by 3 goals, and then Indy play later out west against Orange County. But it's those 3 teams vying for 1 spot. Detroit City, Indy 11, Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Indy do have the advantage of playing after those 2, so they will know what they have to do, if anything, to get into the playoffs.
And here is kickoff between Louisville and Hartford officially underway in Louisville. We'll keep you updated again as the night goes along. The significance there as far as it pertains to Pittsburgh here in this game. If Hartford lose, all Pittsburgh would need is a tie to clinch a home playoff game next week. As it stands, Pittsburgh need a win. But if Hartford lose, all Pittsburgh needs is a tie. And the other benefactors of that would be North Carolina. We get to that 3-way tiebreaker among those teams and sort through all sorts of possibilities. But the key thing to note, again, right now Pittsburgh win home playoff game. If Hartford lose, tie home playoff game. That game is still significant for Louisville. With a win, they make USL Championship history. Best regular season in league history on a points per game basis.
And yet last season they had an unbelievable season as well.
Right.
They got knocked out first round, was it, by Rhode Island? So
eventual Eastern Conference champion Rhode Island went on that magical run.
They did, and Danny Cruz has said to us a few times this year that, you know, it's a long, long season and the playoffs are the most critical part. You can go into it having broken all records, but it's what you do when you get to the playoffs that then adds another trophy, if possible, for Lou City to the one they already have for the Players' Shield. I think they were a bit disappointed last year having won the Players' Shield that got knocked out so early, and it felt like it wasn't a good season, but all the numbers suggest it was another fantastic season for Lou City.
Ball never went out. Here's Skeers eyeing up a service, looking back post, overshoots Dennis. Asenge keeps it in play. Possession edge currently Pittsburgh's way. Dennis runs out of room.
Mind you, talking about Lou City stats, what about Phoenix 3-4 years ago? Remember that run where they was unbeaten in 20? You've probably got a better memory for this.
Something absurd. It was something absurd.
What a team they had. It was just brilliant. And they were breaking all sorts of records then. So, yeah, Phoenix have had their moments too, where they have set the USL alight. This year might not be setting the big numbers, but if they can just get themselves in the playoff, 1 point will ensure that. Then who knows how it goes from there.
That's what it was a couple years ago when Phoenix won it all. They were the last team to squeak in.
In fact, you mentioned Derek Formello being part of that. I remember him scoring at San Diego Loyal in the very first playoff match they played away, and that was San Diego Loyal's last ever game. I'm sure it was Derek Formello came up with a couple of crucial goals that day, and then from then onwards, man, every away match they were just unbelievable goals that were being scored by Phoenix Rising on the way to glory.
USL on CBS Sports Network kicks off the championship playoffs presented by Terminix with an Eastern Conference quarterfinal showdown. Second seed Charleston Battery take on 7th seed this Sunday, November 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. As of now, that 7th seed would be Rhode Island, and that was last year's conference final. Charleston, Rhode Island, with, of course, Rhode Island going on the road to Charleston and punching a ticket to the title game, losing to Colorado Springs in that final.
It's almost a repeat of last season for Rhode Island. There they had to go away to Lou City to finish top and get a result, and they did. So I don't think they'll be too scared. I mean, let's be fair, you don't want to go to Charleston Battery, but they won't be scared. I think they'll know that if that's how it works out, they'll know they've got a chance against Ben Pearman's side.
They played last night, Rhode Island. They fell in their final regular season game on the road against New Mexico. The only way that matchup changes, Charleston against Rhode Island, is if Detroit City ends up shaking things up a bit. They're in 8th. They can jump Rhode Island. Corner toward the back post. Too close to Rakowski. Their goalkeeper has really been perturbed much yet. Rakowski is credited with 1 save. It wasn't all too difficult. Pardon me, Eric Dick has the 1 save. It was a rather simple one. No official save yet for Rakowski. 5 shots for Pittsburgh, 4 shots for Phoenix. Mostly crosses for both goalkeepers to deal with, but nothing too dangerous.
As I was saying there, the sort of defensives have been good, been closing down midfield. Both teams well organized, tactically strong. It's more of a game of chess at this stage, as you would expect with so much on the line. And to your point, one point might be enough for both teams to achieve their objective. So it might continue like this all the way to the end. Eventually, if somebody needs to win or someone goes down a goal, then it might come to life. But they're two very, very good and well-organized teams.
Well, as it stands, Pittsburgh still need to win. Remember, it's Louisville have to beat Hartford in order for Pittsburgh to get through with just a draw.
Well, I think Louisville have beaten most teams have gone to Lynn Family Stadium.
Fair enough.
So you'd fancy the odds are pretty much in Pittsburgh's favor that a draw should be enough.
Worked through for All and poked out for a corner.
He's a clever player, that Charles All, and he's had a few useful goals this season. Just looking for a ball to be slipped through there to him, and it wasn't quite enough weight on it.
Short from All. Mertz, overlap, sample, end line, driving it through, and it's out of play. A little more creative that time from the corner for Pittsburgh, but the same result that they've been meeting, which is nothing dangerous off of these corners to this point.
Well, that was a very, very cleverly taken corner, because Sample had waited for the ball to go from Charles All to Robbie Mertz, and then he made a sneaky little run down the line, wasn't picked up, and got to the byline, was able to make the cross. In the end, as you say, the ball a little bit too high and the header over, but the idea was very, very clever. I think there's a few coaches and players watching this match who might think, hang on a second, that's worth trying next game.
You'd be amazed at how often that happens. Copycat league, copycat sport. See something, if it works, go ahead and make it your own. Why not? There's no patents. There's no copyright system in this sport. Although Fergie time sort of was trademarked for you. Look at some of the deeper stats as far as how Pittsburgh have controlled things despite the scoreless nature still. Pittsburgh 36 final third entries. Phoenix just 17. Just shows you much of this game has been played down at this end. And here they go again through Etu. Mertz looking for Augie Williams. Brings it down. Williams, save made by Rakowski. He was sort of caught between two minds there, Williams. Went for a chip from that tight end, and Rakowski swats it down.
That was a fantastic ball into the box, and so well taken by Augie Williams. He's chested it down, and as you say, from then, a little bit of confusion from his part as to what he does next with it.
Had to touch into space. Rakowski meets him. Who's it off of last? Referee says Rakowski, corner coming. And look back at that last chance for Williams.
Look at this ball in, fantastic. But look at the chest though. Chests it, gets it down, and then tries to flick it over the keeper. Was there a better option for him? Maybe it's just a good save from Patrick Rakowski. Look at his left hand go up. That ball's probably going to go over into the back of the net.
I mentioned earlier, Williams, you won't really hear his name until the service starts coming his way. He's not somebody who necessarily creates for himself. Finally had it created for him. Another corner, though, now goes by the wayside, and a foul goes against the Riverhounds.
What they've done well for me, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, is won the ball quite often in Phoenix Rising's half of the pitch, and from there they're able to get crosses in. They're able to sort of test the back four a lot more, hence they've got the better stats in this first half.
Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. From the Academy to the big league, Select is there every step of the way. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select product specials and more. Select, the player's choice. 5 minutes remaining here in this first half. Alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us on Judgment Day in the USL Championship. I like the moniker. It's not technically an official decision day because not every single team is playing, so the league has opted for Judgment Day. It's got a nice ominous ring to it.
The Terminator movies had Judgment Day as the end of civilization, so I'm not sure you want that parallel.
Well,
but
it's going to be the end of some team seasons tonight.
Yeah,
so.
that it will, and could be the end of coaches and players. We've got to also add that players are playing for contracts
Absolutely.
as well. And in this system in the USL, most contracts are year by year.
Kept in play by Edrach. And works nicely out of that corner.
I think that contract situation applies very much to teams that don't make the playoffs. Some of those teams mentioned, Oakland, Monterey Bay play tonight, Las Vegas. Those players in particular will know that the new coach who's either just come in or coming in, I'll tell you more in a moment.
Biasi end line. Biasi cuts back inside, goes himself off the post. Augie Williams floats it, but to nobody in particular. That is twice now tonight that Luke Biasi has had a brilliant individual moment. This time denied only by the post.
That's fantastic from Luke Biasi. Another good switch of play. Pittsburgh have done that really well, but that ball played through there to Luke Biasi, absolutely fantastic. And he cuts back here, so unlucky. Perhaps Rakowski had that little angle covered, but inches away from maybe hitting the post and going in.
It's a round ball on a rounded post. You hit the inside of it, you never know sometimes. But that time it goes across and out. Just another danger moment, though, for Pittsburgh. Phoenix have had very few. Maybe something else on now for the Riverhounds, closing in on halftime. Biasi. You can get ready for all the exciting postseason action as the USL playoffs presented by Terminix kick off next week. The top teams will battle it out for the ultimate prize. You can go to uslchampionship.com for all the latest playoff information. On the turn, Sample feeds it wide. All serving. Shout from Mertz that he got elbowed. Sample, though, the volley. Puts it wide. Some of the players had stopped looking over at Robbie Mertz at his protest and glancing at the referee, not Sample.
It's another little half chance, and there's been 4 what I would consider decent opportunities for Pittsburgh. I don't think there's been any real ones for Phoenix, but they've hit the post. The keeper's made a good save. That one flashes just wide. There was a chance earlier for Luke Biasi when he shot just wide as well. So certainly Pittsburgh have looked the more dangerous and probably are a little bit unlucky not to be in the lead so far.
Look at the expected goals, just giving you a sense again at the chances these teams have created. It's 0.64 on the Pittsburgh side, 0.06 on the Phoenix side.
That's effectively 0. But they have been defending more, and again, if they believe that they need a point, which they do, to be assured of playoffs, and they're not that much focused on being at home, they just want to make the playoffs. Oh, that's risky. Then a point is worth fighting for, and so far they've defended well enough to have the point, Phoenix Rising. So maybe that's job done as far as they're concerned.
Augie Williams. Dennis tracking back defensively. As you said, the point is enough for Phoenix. They tie, they're in. Where they finish is a different story. That's up to the later kickoffs to figure out where they finish if they end up with just a tie. With a win and an El Paso loss, Phoenix would actually end up with a home playoff game out of this piled up mess that is the Western Conference table. And again for Pittsburgh, a win nets them a home playoff game. A draw also would if Louisville beats Hartford.
Chatting to Palmadou Carr, he wasn't concerned about playing away from home. He mentioned
they've been better on the road this season.
He mentioned the win at North Carolina. They drew away at Sacramento Republic 2-2. That was never an easy one. They drew away at Tampa Bay Rowdies 1-1. I mean, they've had some really good results. Beat Oakland Roots away 2-1. Not that these teams will necessarily be the teams they meet, but to say that on the road beat Las Vegas Lights 1-0. So I don't think they're as bothered about being at home. They just want to make sure they're in the playoffs.
Augie Williams. To your point, they've been almost equal on the road and at home. 20 points on the road this season, 19 points at home. So one more point they've picked up on the road than at home this season. The record's similar, 4-4-7 at home, 5-4-5 on the road. But one win more on the road than they have at home. That is certainly not the norm around the league. 1 minute of stoppage time here in this first half. Straightforward half it's been. Mertz to the end line, looking in front for Williams. It's behind him. Comes out to Biasi with options. Biasi across. I think he's taking himself out of the play here, Mertz, and that's why. He knew he was going to be off, but there was nobody else who was going to get there. There's 10 seconds left. This half is effectively over, Gary, and it'll end 0-0 between two teams with stakes here tonight. Pittsburgh, a win gets them a home playoff game. Phoenix get into the playoffs with a draw. There's so many other possibilities. We've got 45 gone. We've got 45 to go, and it's still all to play for both these sides.
And they had another little chance there. Augie Williams nearly on the end of that one from Robbie Mertz. Another very clever play down the flanks. So they can consider themselves unlucky, Pittsburgh. They've had 3 or 4 good chances to have gone ahead. And for Phoenix Rising, no really good chances. But 0-0 still suits both teams at this moment.
Eric Dick has had a rather quiet first half. Much of the play has been on the opposite side where Pittsburgh threatened. They hit a post. They had multiple opportunities to take a 1-0 lead, if not more, into the break, but we go into halftime scoreless. The third ever meeting between these two clubs. Pittsburgh has won each of the last 2 over the last 2 years, looking to make it a perfect 3-0 all-time against Phoenix. Halftime brought to you by 84 Lumber. We're back in a moment to take a broader look around USL Championship and a deeper dive into the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, scoreless through 45 minutes between Pittsburgh and Phoenix.
The build. What is it that drives us to follow our dreams? To build them from scratch, from the heart. For us, it's the same ideals of hard work, craftsmanship, and unity that define our great nation. It begins with trusting in yourself and having a team behind you that believes any dream is possible, and that every project is a vision of what can be, of who you are, and the future that you continue to build. From our family to yours, 84 Lumber, where quality and pride come together, one dream at a time.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Hi, I'm Dustin.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Grace.
And we're Dustin Buys Houses.
My parents buy houses for cash.
With a call to make in the Pittsburgh area.
To sell your as-is property fast.
We buy fixer-uppers, foreclosures, rented or vacant.
Or a nicer home you just need out of. We buy them all.
Plus, you don't pay any fees. Takes just a few minutes on the phone.
To see if our family can help yours.
Call 412-615-0000.
We are scooting into the playoffs with Amo. It's scoreless between Pittsburgh and Phoenix. More to come here tonight from Highmark Stadium, and a lot to talk about around the league here on Judgment Day in the USL Championship. Let's take a peek behind the curtain and get to know a little bit more about Riverhounds goalkeeper Ben Martino.
I'm Ben Martino and play for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I did only the goalkeeper academy for a year in 2014, and then I officially joined the actual academy in 2015. At that age, it was more about just falling in love with soccer, and a couple years of that transitioned into, I was starting to become a lot better goalkeeper.
Benny was very consistent. Things that he needed to improve on, he would stay, do the extra work, but he was always mentally and physically prepared for anything that was kind of thrown in his direction.
He came through our system, and that's what we want to continue to have. It just shows that we're doing the right things in our academy if all of a sudden now we have these kids training with the first team and then eventually signing with the first team. It just means that we're putting the work in at the lower levels. It gives the younger goalkeepers that are in our academy something to go, okay, they are looking in our academy. It's not like they're always going outside of the academy.
Maybe halfway, towards the end of my time at the academy, I was being recruited by a lot of schools, and obviously that was a really big thing that RDA helped me with, was facilitating those connections with those schools, and they help you contact schools, write emails to schools, help you get into ID camps. They help me be very proactive with the whole college process, especially even from the start of my freshman year.
There's no magic formula for the pros. They do the same thing that the academy goalkeepers do. They just do it at a higher tempo and a more consistent tempo. So, Benny is great with taking Ryan under his wing, putting his arm around him, talking to him about little things, whether it's in the middle of a drill or whether it's just when they're having water, right? So it's one thing when I'm talking to Ryan or Dylan, but it's a whole nother thing also when the pros are taking that time. Makes Ryan feel even more invested by it, into the system. And so if we can all just help each other out, then it's going to make for a great environment from top to bottom in the whole goalkeeping department.
If you're in the right environment and you're willing to give it your all and give it your best, day in and day out, your dreams and your goals, anything is possible. And Benny, he sets that. He proves that and validates that anything is possible as long as you're willing to put that work in.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win the championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
Whoa! Termites can eat a pound of wood a day. Pound of wood a day.
Pound of wood a day. Pound of wood a day.
What's wrong, Daddy? Daddy? You okay?
Keep termites out of your home and your head with our premium guarantee that covers up to $250,000 in new termite damage. Before panic shows up, Terminix it.
Prinks tires in the USL help soccer journeys everywhere to drive harder. From city playgrounds to suburban sidelines, from early mornings to late nights, from fun with friends to winner takes all, from the biggest fan to the biggest heart. And at every turn, Prinks tires will be there for the long haul.
Booking a spot in the playoffs for the first time. Welcome back into Highmark Stadium. Scoreless at the break between Pittsburgh and Phoenix. Halftime score brought to you by 84 Lumber. All right, get ready. There's a lot that we're throwing at you here on this graphic. This is, in all of its glory, all of the clinching scenarios that we could see here tonight. In the Eastern Conference, Detroit City, they're in with a win. They've got other stuff. Indy are the more simple, I guess, scenario. Tampa Bay is the interesting one. If they win by 2 goals against Detroit City and Indy lose, then all of a sudden they can swoop in. That's the scenario in the Eastern Conference. The West, that's where you see Phoenix for our game tonight. Simple as win or tie, and they're in. And everything else is just going to be chaotic later, Gary.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe just take a snapshot of that and refer to it throughout the evening. But I agree with you. Tampa Bay at home against Detroit, I think they've got a chance of getting that 2-goal win. But the advantage for Indy is they get to play Orange County later. They know what they have to do exactly, which I think is not always fair, but that's just the way it has worked out.
There's also the other aspect, which is on the road against Orange County. While they'll know what they need to do, that's also a heck of a fixture for them to have at the end of the season on the road against a good team like that. So this is the schedule for the rest of the evening here between these teams in the two conferences. Bottom left is that Orange County and Indy game that you were alluding to. That one is probably the most pivotal matchup of all, because both Indy and Orange County are in their respective playoff races.
That's important. Switchbacks away at FC Tulsa. Switchbacks need a result there. Lexington is the other match away at Oakland Roots. Lexington must get a result as well. So I think all of those matches where there's so much on the line are ones that are going to be well worth watching.
And that's all coming later. The next kick that you see here is at 8 p.m. between Tulsa and Colorado Springs. That's coming a few minutes from now. The live scoreboard at the moment in USL Championship, it's a whole lot of zeros for the games that are actually going on. Of course, we're scoreless. Louisville, Hartford, Tampa Bay, Detroit City, all scoreless. The earlier results, though, impactful, especially North Carolina beating Loudoun. North Carolina for the time being because of that in a home playoff game spot.
Yeah, sitting third in the table. Loudoun, I think, are sitting just outside of it. That's still to be determined by what Pittsburgh do here this evening. Charleston, as expected, dispatching of Birmingham. Although Birmingham, if I believe, took the lead. And they did at one stage.
Charleston ended up roaring back, including a Cal Jennings goal that currently puts him in the lead in the Golden Boot race. And that is one of the things we're watching tonight. Bottom of your screen there, Peter Wilson, now we know needs at least one goal in order to win the Golden Boot. I say at least one because if Bonfilio of Miami scores 4 or 5 against Sacramento, technically Peter Wilson can lose it. But for all intents and purposes, barring that happening, all Peter Wilson needs later is one goal. There we've seen two between Pittsburgh and Phoenix here on Judgment Day in the USL Championship regular season. Scoreless through 45, a pivotal 45 minutes on the way.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. This is an exciting day for the South Shore. Please welcome the owner of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Tuffy Schellenberger.
Today, we are announcing and going to show you the plans of the expanding our new stadium from 5,000 to 15,000. I'd like to bring the players up here to unveil the renderings of the new stadium. And you know, you have to win in Pittsburgh. I don't care what you do. We're not going to quit till we win the championship, and then we're not going to quit after that.
Toyota reliability for all your adventures. Built to perform, born to thrill. Toyota RAV4. Find yourself discovering more. Buy yours now and save with low 4.75% APR financing. Toyota, let's go places.
Ready to get things going in the second half, but first a look back at some highlights from the first half brought to you by Corona. It's really all down at this end where Pittsburgh were knocking on the door.
Rakowski with a very good save there from Augie Williams, and there's another chance here. Luke Biasi gets this ball from Charles All, cuts in here, back on his left foot, hits the post, ever so close for Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
And then one last chance before the half ended from Bradley Sample on the volley, and ends up just going wide, but it's another moment where Rakowski was worried, and this Phoenix back line was worried. Pittsburgh in the black and yellow from right to left, Phoenix in the red from left to right. Matthew Corrigan, the referee, in green. And away we go in half number 2. Glad to have you along on ESPN Plus, alongside Manchester United great Gary Bailey. I'm Joe Malfa. Similar but different scenarios for both teams. Pittsburgh with a win would clinch a home playoff game. Phoenix with a win would clinch a playoff spot. Phoenix also would clinch that playoff spot with just a draw. Pittsburgh could also clinch the home playoff game with just a draw. That's if Louisville end up beating Hartford. That game is currently scoreless through the half-hour mark. Phoenix has the wider range of possibilities. They could finish from 4th down to 9th. Pittsburgh, it's more straightforward. They're either going to be hosting a playoff game or just beneath that in 5th. It's a Pittsburgh team, Gary, that I think through the years it's pretty evident, and even tonight, they're so much more comfortable at home. The record this year shows it at 8-3-3. It's a unique field. You've got the city skyline over that far side. It's tighter than most fields. It's turf. The fans are right on top of you, and they're raucous. It is just such a unique environment, and year over year, they have had such an advantage here at this place. All of that being said, 2 years ago when they won the Players' Shield, they were upset in the first round by Detroit City, which defied all logic, so you never know what happens in the postseason, but they really want to be home next week.
They do. And chatting to Rob Vinson, the interim or acting head coach, he was talking about exactly that. He says, we love to press teams here. We can have a higher intensity because it's a tight pitch, and we thrive on that sort of football. So, yeah, they do want to end up playing at home. I think for them it's hugely important that they get the win. And they've come close. I mean, they've hit the post. Rakowski's made a really good save with his left hand from Augie Williams. They've certainly looked the brighter, but give Phoenix credit. They've defended well. They've kept it tight. The one stat that did stand out for me when you look through all the stats, touches in the opposition box, 16 for Pittsburgh, 1 for Phoenix Rising. It just shows you that Phoenix Rising, they're happy to get the draw, so far anyway. They might change their tactics, you know, towards the end of the game, but it's almost as if they're playing for the point just to ensure that they get in the playoffs no matter what. They don't want to risk losing, and then the other 4 results go against them, and that's the end of their season.
I like the way you phrase that, though. It's a loss and 4 results going against you. It's all of those. They all have to go against Phoenix. Some other teams,
Lexington, Orange County,
Colorado Springs, San Antonio. Wow. All 4 of those teams have to win, not tie. All have to be wins. If any 4 of those teams so much as drop a single point in a draw, Phoenix is still in with a loss. So you fancy their chances, but we know that things are far from normal in this league when it comes down to the last day of the regular season. And you could go down the list of those 4 games that you mentioned in the teams that Phoenix would need to have drop points. It's very feasible that all of those teams win.
And if you're a coach or a player for Phoenix Rising, you want to get the point here today and make sure there's absolutely no chance that you miss the playoffs.
Exactly.
That's your job. That ball just goes wide.
To that point, the games that they would need to have just one of the teams drop a point, FC Tulsa and Colorado Springs, they just kicked off. Colorado Springs could certainly win on the road against Tulsa. Tulsa would have nothing to play for. They're in first place. They need San Antonio to drop points. They're home against El Paso. San Antonio could absolutely win that game. Lexington at Oakland. You'd absolutely fancy Lexington to win that game. And the last one is Orange County at home against Indy. Could absolutely see Orange County winning that game. So that's why, like, so much would have to go wrong for Phoenix, but none of those 4 results would be crazy. Marboy. Avayevu looking through for Dennis.
Hasn't quite gelled up front for them, has it, Phoenix Rising? With all that talent they have in Charlie Dennis, Hope Avayevu, Arias Johnson. They haven't linked together much. It's one of the few occasions we've actually seen them even on the edge of Pittsburgh's box. And I just wonder whether Pamadou Carr said to them at halftime, look, we need to push forward a bit here. Let's not rely on a clean sheet. It's possible that Pittsburgh scores. So let's see what we can do down the other end of the pitch, and let's try and be a little bit more creative.
From a strategic standpoint and the psyche of this game, as we've alluded to throughout the first half, Phoenix are certainly fine with the draw. The draw gets them in regardless of whatever happens anywhere else. But the draw is not necessarily good for Pittsburgh. So as this game goes along, if Pittsburgh doesn't get word that Louisville is beating up on Hartford, Pittsburgh will still look to go ahead and win in this game. So you can't leave that to chance for Phoenix because they're going to be pressing you at some point. So it's just such an interesting chess match and cat and mouse game that you have to go through.
And as you're saying that, we get word that
Louisville have a lead against Hartford.
As expected. As expected with Lou City at home at Lynn Family Stadium. It's, I'm assuming Philip Goodrum's playing. They're probably playing their full-strength team. Davila in the middle, Lambert. I mean, it's wow. Jensen bombing down the one side. It's some team that got going there with Coach Danny Cruz.
Next chance we get here, we'll show you how that happened for Louisville as well. Williams. Here's how it went down for Louisville in the 39th minute. Chaos in front. Looks like Philip Goodrum. This is the first we're seeing it too, so we're reacting the same way you all are at home. Philip Goodrum gets it done. To your point, Gary, they're playing a full-strength squad. They want to go into the playoffs next week on a high note, and again, they are still playing for their own history tonight. If they win, they set the league record for points per game in a regular season. Now, of course, we've seen the league at 34 games per season, at 30 games per season, so you got to look at the averages rather than the raw totals.
And it's not to say that Hartford can't come back and win it because they've been playing so unbelievably well. It's just, it's unlikely at Lynn Family Stadium against that particular Louisville City team that you're going to come back from 1-0, but it is possible. But if it became 2 or 3-0, that's when Pittsburgh might say, you know what, the draw is good. Phoenix say, hey, the draw is good for us as well, and that's when we might find the game sort of fizzles out and everyone agrees that let's just keep the ball in the middle of the pitch and we both get the point we want. But we hope it doesn't come to that.
And of course, again, that's why it was always dangerous for Phoenix, because yes, Phoenix needs to draw, and for them it's as simple as the draw gets them in regardless of other results. But Pittsburgh didn't necessarily have the ability to just rely on that draw. Now they can, but even so, like you said, it's only a 1-goal game over there. That could change. So Pittsburgh should still be looking to win here. All of a sudden, though, if they get word from the bench, it's 3-0, it's 4-0, a different story. But so much time will pass between now and then because Louisville and Hartford are about to go to halftime. So inherently, you have a 15-minute stretch of this game baked in where nothing is changing elsewhere. And all that time, Pittsburgh cannot rest on their laurels yet. So that doomsday scenario, if you will, for a neutral who's hoping for action here in this game, it can't really get to that point until we're at least in minute 80, where Pittsburgh can look at it and say, yeah, we're also okay with a tie.
We're chatting to Coach Palmadou Carr, the Phoenix Rising coach, about his tactics. He says, we understand the way Pittsburgh play. And he wouldn't tell us more than that. We said, well, and what are you going to do? He said, no, we know how they're going to play and we're going to deal with them. Well, to be fair, they have played almost the Pittsburgh way, which is overloading the midfield, closing it down, making it difficult. Yes, Pittsburgh have had a couple of chances and probably unlucky not to be one, even 2-0 ahead. So, you know, if that was the case, we'd be singing a different song here. But nonetheless, Phoenix Rising seem to be closing it down reasonably well. I just wonder at some point, well, again, we're contradicting ourselves. They're not going to push forward and take risks because they only want the 1 point. So they're not going to throw numbers forward.
And to take that even a step further, they might not even need the 1 point, because elsewhere, Tulsa's just taken a 1-0 lead on Colorado Springs in the first 10 minutes. So, again, if one of those 4 teams, Colorado Springs, San Antonio, Lexington, Orange County, those 4 teams need a clean sweep, 4 wins, plus a Phoenix loss to knock out Phoenix. So as it stands already, Colorado Springs down 1-0 would be enough. Look out here, Augie Williams, miscommunication among the center backs, comes out to nothing in the end. But as it stands, Phoenix, even if they were to give up a goal here and go down, they'd still be okay.
Could it be that Colorado Springs, as reigning champions, don't make the playoffs?
It's right there. It's possible. And I think the rest of the conference, Gary, would be quite all right with that. Because they're a team that can certainly put it together, catch fire, and really make the teams above them pay. For Colorado Springs as well, it's not as simple as lose and you're out. They have multiple other passageways through into the playoffs. We can sort of, in a concise manner, relay Phoenix's many scenarios to you. I'm not even going to begin on Colorado Springs scenarios. They are far too complex and far too advanced. So just know that they'll probably still get in, but it's possible that they don't, and the reigning champions are on the outside looking in. Dennis and Charles All, both wearing number 12, both named Charles, but they're not seeing eye to eye after that challenge.
Charles All not happy at all with what happened. He's taken a few kicks. There's a bit of contact. A little bit of contact afterwards, and I think he got kicked a couple of times in the first half, so it's all adding up for him. He's getting annoyed. A couple of options for Pittsburgh Riverhounds second half if they want to bring on some fresh legs. Walty came on in the last match and scored a goal and had an assist as a sub. So I think Jackson Walty could be a really good option for interim coach Rob Vincent. And Jackerson is fit as well, and he is some player when he gets going. Those two players might still have a chance of making the playoff side. You do think the 11 here today would be Pittsburgh's team playing next week in the playoffs, wherever they happen to be playing. But Jackson Walty could still put his hand up, and Jackerson perhaps as well, if they came on and did something special here in the second half.
Some of those players do have their own unique tendencies, so it could be matchup dependent perhaps for Pittsburgh, but same lineup last week, same lineup today. It stands to reason it'll be the same lineup next week, barring, hopefully not, injury or red card in the next 33 minutes. And as it stands, that matchup would be Pittsburgh welcoming the hottest non-Louisville team in USL Championship in Hartford Athletic. So it'd be a very difficult draw next week for Pittsburgh at home.
Yeah, it's one team I'd want to miss if I was in the playoffs. Hartford, given that they went to Sacramento Republic to win the Jägermeister Cup, I mean, that's not an easy place to go to and get a victory. So to host a team that can be that good on the road is not something that Pittsburgh will feel has been kind to them. Mind you, I'm not so sure what team is a kind draw, really. I mean, Rhode Island is another team that would be a scary one to have to host.
Well, the two possibilities for this Pittsburgh team at the moment, if they host, we're assuming, which is a draw now or a win, depending on the Hartford and Louisville result. As it stands, Pittsburgh's the 4, Hartford's the 5, with a Pittsburgh draw and a Hartford loss. If Pittsburgh win, they would then play Loudoun instead of Hartford. Dennis brings it down, drops it back, Skiers tries to feed it back through. There is no mathematical way for Pittsburgh to end up in a position to play Rhode Island. So it's one of those two teams. It's Hartford, it's Loudoun.
When they met during the season, Pittsburgh drew 2-2 at home to Loudoun.
And behind here, there's a deflection on the effort, but it's another look down that right side. Mertz gets in behind this time. Biasi was getting in behind earlier. They've had some success down that right side, attacking in behind Ryan Flood.
They have. They're very good down that right side. Biasi in particular is bombing down and almost playing as a wing at times. And you do look to the save from Rakowski. You do look to the post from Biasi and think that perhaps Phoenix Rising are just a little bit lucky to be on level terms.
Soccer season is here, and SeatGeek is the official ticketing partner of the USL. Get all your USL tickets and more from the #1 ticketing site, SeatGeek, your ticket to great seats. Hour gone, half hour remains. Still scoreless between Pittsburgh and Phoenix. With Gary Bailey, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us on ESPN+. Final day of the USL Championship regular season. These two teams, for now, would both be content with 0-0. Apologies to the neutral tuning in. It's not what you want to see necessarily, but that is the case. Phoenix, if they hold on to this point, clinch a playoff berth. Pittsburgh, if they hold on to this point, plus Hartford currently losing at Louisville, that would be enough for Pittsburgh to earn a home playoff game next week. And that game just went to halftime between Louisville and Hartford. That two swerves it in, comes out for Sample. So right now, at the 60-minute mark, we're going to go until at least the 75th minute before there's any updates from elsewhere, Gary. It's still 1-0 Louisville, which means the pressure is still on Pittsburgh to find a goal and seal the deal with a win that they're hosting a playoff game next week. The last thing you want to do is rest on your laurels here. Hartford comes storming out of the break, ties it with Louisville, and now all of a sudden you're falling down to 5th and you're traveling to Hartford or to North Carolina.
Agreed, and I don't think you see any team, either team, backing off at this stage. I think to what you're saying, they're both pushing, they're both, if you're Phoenix, you got the point, but it'd be great to get a goal and be absolutely sure. If you're Pittsburgh, again, same thing, you got the point, that probably will be enough, but you'd love to secure the win, just make 100% sure. So they're both pushing, they're both trying to be creative for the time being. I don't think we'll see any gamesmanship until, as you suggest, the last 10 minutes perhaps, when both sides, if the point is enough, they might then play. But so far from what I've seen, they're both still pushing, both still working really hard, and expect to start seeing some substitutions soon as coaches freshen things up. And as we say, Jackson Walty comes on and looks to see if he can do what he did last week against Monterey Bay. Have a nice assist for Augie Williams and stick one in the top corner for himself.
Biasi. Mertz drops it back. Suber's that pivot point on the back line. Touches the ball so much for Pittsburgh. Getting into those dangerous areas, Pittsburgh. 7 of their shots have come from inside the box. Only 1 for Phoenix. Stat you mentioned earlier, Gary, touches in the opposing box. 16-1 in favor of Pittsburgh. Final third entries, 49-19 Pittsburgh. Territorially, game control, chance creation, everything Pittsburgh's way right now, but still scoreless.
And what will Phoenix Rising fans say? Well, we did it 2 years ago. You can throw your stats wherever you want them, but we won every game on the road and we went on to be champions. So it's an impressive Pittsburgh side, and Bob Lilly, as always, has built a fantastic team that is so hard to break down. It's so good at pressing. They dominate the midfield, and as long as Augie Williams gets some service, you're almost certain he's going to score because he is such a good striker.
Bob Lilly built team, but Bob Lilly on administrative leave, and Rob Vincent stepping in as the acting manager. Corrigan coming back to have a conversation with some players and also do some housekeeping. Get that second ball off the field after some words with some players on his way back there, getting his extra steps in.
He's still looking quite fit for the 63rd minute of the game.
The fitness test to pass as a referee is way more vigorous than people realize. You have to be running as much as the players are out there, essentially. And there's no substitution for you either in case you start lagging. You've got to put in 90.
Yeah, there's a lot more to refereeing than, as you say, people would realize, besides understanding the rules and the implementation. It's where they have to be in terms of where the ball is. Close to where the ball is so you can see what's going on, but in certain positions so you don't get in the way of players. Certainly at set pieces. There's a lot of in-game positional management as well as the knowledge of the game.
Turned over here by Phoenix, but one right back. You also have to have thick skin because the fans and players often don't care about all those things you mentioned, and they will bombard you.
I think that's the very first thing you need to be a referee. Doesn't matter what decision you give, one camp's not going to be happy with it. One coach is going to be berating you, especially if you're the 4th official. Yeah, not an easy job. And to me, they deserve a lot more respect than they probably do get. But you also understand that coaches have to win and they want to put pressure on referees for decisions. But I do think referees, they get the rough end of the stick on most occasions.
All up to Etu. Seeing all now more on this left side. He's typically operating in that right half space rather than the left, but comes over to this side now. Maybe a tweak to keep an eye on from Rob Vincent. In behind now for Etu. He's brought down. Doesn't matter. Offside first. The offside on Etu first negates the free kick. There's a lot to unpack there. Whether he was inside the box or outside the box, whether he was on or offside. He was outside the box, but he was offside.
What about the ball? I think it was from Bradley Sample. First time ball was absolutely brilliant. And that's why he was able to get in there, because the ball was so good. But unfortunately for him, offside, otherwise we would be having a discussion. Penalty or not.
Tampa Bay and Detroit City have also gone to halftime scoreless. Tampa Bay, remember, need to win that game by at least 2 goals in order to leapfrog Detroit City and then put the pressure on Indy 11 later tonight on the road in Orange County. And the only other game going on right now is FC Tulsa hosting Colorado Springs. First place Tulsa lead 1-0, and that alone would be enough for Phoenix to clinch a playoff spot even if they were to end up losing this game. Colorado Springs dropping points, that would be enough. Etu. Onside this time. Etu looking for Williams. It's saved off the line. Shia's got to it, cleared it away. Williams didn't make great contact. Etu still battling Asenge. Asenge brings him down. Just a throw coming for Pittsburgh. Good battle between those two in the corner. Good clean battle.
What a cross from Junior Etu. Absolutely brilliant. Gave Augie Williams a fantastic chance to have hooked that one into the back of the net. Once again, Pittsburgh coming very close to the opening goal.
The next chance we get, we'll get a closer look at that. One of those that you expect, given his ability and his pedigree, one of those you expect Augie Williams to finish. I'm curious to see if it took an awkward bobble up on him or what the case was, that he didn't just finish that initially. Second effort was the one that was blocked by Shias, but the chance was there.
It's interesting, he's got 9 goals, Augie Williams, as the top goal scorer for Pittsburgh. They've had a goal scorer hit double digits every single year since 2015. Just to finish that, every year since 2015, excluding COVID. Here's that, there's a ball, it's a lovely, look at that ball there, it's just...
Oh, it did take a touch. Shia's got a first touch to it, watch.
Is that what put him off?
Couldn't quite tell from that angle. The initial angle shows you that Shias did get an initial deflection that took it off path for Augie Williams and then had the block on the back end. So terrific play defensively by Rafael Shias.
And he's still got a touch there, Augie Williams. They've had a double-digit goal scorer every year since 2015. And in 2015, it was Rob Vincent, the caretaker coach, who got 21 goals.
Off the corner, save made by Rakovsky.
The big question is then, can Augie get another goal and hit those double digits and keep that run going for Pittsburgh Riverhounds strikers?
Mertz looking again in the middle, glanced on, and out for a corner. Another chance on a set piece for Pittsburgh. Or not. That might be one of those where you give the referee the benefit of the doubt, but I think he missed it.
Just little half chances for Pittsburgh Riverhounds. You do get the sense that something will fall their way if they keep this sort of pressure on, but as you mentioned, it might not have any relevance for Phoenix Rising if Colorado Springs Switchbacks lose their match or even draw their match.
$20 minutes to play. As it stands, both these teams would still be happy at the end of the night. Phoenix in a playoff spot. Pittsburgh hosting a playoff game. You can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk that includes USL All Access on Tuesday nights, plus live matches from the USL, MLS Premier League, and more, all on SiriusXM FC 157 and the SiriusXM app. This past week, that sit-down interview with Roro Lopez, as we talked about at halftime, one of a trio of league greats that are retiring. Actually, just in the last 24 hours was announced as well that Juan Agudelo is retiring at the end of the season from San Antonio, so add him to the list.
Hosted by Mike Watts with Devon Kerr and the occasional appearance from our own Joe Malfa.
Every now and then they get really desperate, Gary.
It's a really good show. Everything USL based. It's fantastic to catch up. And as you say, to hear Roro Lopez talk about his career and where he wants to go in the future and why he stayed for his son to play on, so his son could actually see him play live. It's all wonderful, wonderful sort of human side of the USL.
I think it'll be very quick that we see him in a prominent role in this league for a club. Maybe it's Sacramento, maybe it's elsewhere, whatever the case is. He seems like the soccer brain that is a head coach or a general manager or an academy director, something. He will not be done with the sport when he hangs up his cleats at the end of this season. Also creates a heck of a possible storyline if Sacramento go on and make the final.
Certainly would. Imagine him getting the winning goal.
Even just being in it. You can let yourself dream about the other scenarios from there. If Sacramento makes it, it'll be his last game, regardless, whether it ends in triumph or agony. But that's the problem for 3.5 weeks for now. First sub coming now on the Pittsburgh side. That'll be all for Charles All, and he's replaced by Jackson Walty. You mentioned, Gary, that Jackson Walty at some point could be that spark with a goal and an assist off the bench last week in the win over Monterey Bay.
It's not bad if you can come off the bench and both get a goal and an assist in whatever time you're on, 20-odd minutes. That's what Jackson Walty was able to do. Jacqueson still to come on if required. He's got such a good touch around the fringes of the box. Such a clever player. So many injury problems this season and before. So we'll be hoping to have him 100% fit for the playoffs.
Offside against Rising. Things again can still change, but it's looking more and more like Phoenix will officially be in, and just more opportunity for us to just talk about what they've done this year. Hamidou Khan, his first year at the helm of this group. Coming into the year, nobody knew what they would be. Such a young roster, so many new faces. As the years gone on, they've shape-shifted so much because of injury and players moving in and out. And yet Phoenix still here. Could be on their way in.
You're right to mention the young players that they've had. I mean, their three centre-backs in their last match had an average age of 21. And that was Essengay and Pop My Boy amongst those. And, you know, when you've got youngsters playing at the back as well, learning their trade, they're young players playing throughout the team. Carl Sainty's just 23 years of age. Hope Avayevu's 23 years of age. When you haven't got lots of experience, then you really have to work hard as a coach to teach the players what to do in every single circumstance. Colin Smith was playing in the right wing-back position last match. He's just 21. Daniel Flores on the other wing-back, 22. So start to look at that and you say, well, as a coach, it takes a lot of doing there for Hamidou Khan to teach those players enough to get them into the playoffs. So huge credit to the coach.
As the years gone on too, just such great perspective from Hamidou Khan, all our conversations about life outside of the game and teaching these players different things, more about the game, more than just the game itself. And it's just always been a breath of fresh air to have those chats with him as the years gone on. The club put out a great behind-the-scenes look earlier in the year to one of their games where he was mic'd up. Falls here for Sample. Doesn't get anything clean on it. Just to finish that note, Hamidou Khan is one of those guys where if you've got a son who you want to put into this sport, that is a coach you'd love to see him play for. More so than, again, just what you see on the field in the game, but what he'll learn in life beyond things. Another corner coming for Pittsburgh. Another service that's just lacking from Pittsburgh. It's been a night of difficulties off these set pieces. That's their 9th corner. They also just have a difficult task ahead of them. We mentioned it early, Phoenix essentially has 4 center backs out on the field, even though that's not the setup, but they have 4 center backs by trade in Senge, Boy, Shias, and Sainty. And then you've got JP Skiers, who's one of the best aerial players in USL Championship, dropping back defensively on those corners. So 4 true center backs and JP Skiers. Good luck.
Yeah.
It'll be Sacco and Cabral. And that'll be all for Darius Johnson, a name we hardly mentioned tonight. He just never really had anything to do in this game for a team that hasn't seen much of the ball, Phoenix, especially not in the attacking end. And as Abayevu goes to the bench, so too does his opportunity to leap ahead in the Golden Playmaker top assist man race. He was tied with a couple players on 10 coming in. Sacco takes his spot.
These are the players who might just be able to do something to catch the coach's eye and say, hey, you know what, when the playoffs start, I'm your man on the pitch at the beginning. I'm going to have to really impress to do that, because I think coaches have pretty much made up their mind now. But certainly Remy Cabral is a player who, for me, is a natural match winner. Powerful player up front as well. Muscular, holds the ball up really well, something that could be very useful as Phoenix Rising almost certainly head towards the playoffs.
Perrin Barnes and Bertrand Jacquesin who are ready to come on the Pittsburgh side. Nearly through from Sample. Had Mert streaking in behind. Dozen minutes remaining. It's in space for Sacco. Isan Sacco, it's blocked. Immediate impact, finding Sacco in space for Phoenix.
Just wonder if he took too long there. Sacco had set up for him and he just seemed to wait. I don't know if he was just sizing up his position and the goal, but I think sometimes you've got to take those a little bit quicker because you know the defenders are ready to pounce.
That's your first look, though. Sacco coming in. It was one of those that was maybe a bit of a head scratcher to not be in this lineup for Phoenix. And we've seen Pamaduka mix and match as the years gone on, but the way Sacco's been playing in the attack, 7 goals, 6 assists, it was a bit surprising not to see him in tonight, but he provides that spark now late. It's Augie Williams who comes off for Bertrand Jacquesin. And Luke Biassi will come off for Perrin Barnes. He was one of the stars of the night, Luke Biassi, for some of the plays and chances he had in that first half.
He's very unlucky not to be on the score sheet. Augie Williams also had a good chance saved by Patrick Rakowski, which means he will not get to double figures for the season the first time since 2015, with the COVID season excluded. The Pittsburgh have not had a double-digit striker.
Even for Augie Williams personally, I'll come back to him in a second. This is an odd year for him, ending on just the 9, as you mentioned. Looking again in behind for Sacco. But Augie Williams has had 10-plus goals in 4 of the last 5 seasons. The only exception was 2021, where he joined San Diego late as he came over from Los Angeles Galaxy. Dennis looking through, comes out for Morso on the volley off the bar. Still in play for Flood. Mert settles and sends it skyward. Phoenix coming to life. They've been a team that has had a flair for the dramatic here this season. Some come from behind draws, come from behind wins, and moments like this where they've been level and stolen the victory late. Nearly again, and still 10 plus stoppage to play. That lone exception season, by the way, for Augie Williams where he didn't get the double digits. He only played 12 games and he still had 6 goals. So over the last 5 years, he's gotten double figures in 4 out of 5 and would have that year, you'd imagine, with a full season. This year he ends on 9.
I think a little glimpse here of how Phoenix Rising can tackle the playoffs. You come to life last 10 minutes. Here's that shot there. It takes a deflection. That's what gives it that sort of dropping sensation as it goes over the keeper, and it just drops so quickly. But Phoenix Rising, they can soak up the pressure and then start to counter towards the end of matches away from home. Again, as they did 2 years ago with great effect.
eFootball is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball free to play. Download now. On his right side, looking for Perrin Barnes. Fresh legs just came on. Amaduka, animated in his technical area. This team just has such a knack for finding a way late in games.
He's probably just focusing also on keeping it tight. He knows he's, what, 8 minutes plus any added time away from definitely being in the playoffs, and that's got to be aim number 1 for the coaching staff at the start of the season. Get in the playoffs, number 1. Then you can start concerning yourself about how far you go in the playoffs from then onwards. And it looks like they're very, very close, Phoenix Rising, from achieving the first objective.
If this result holds, Phoenix is in. If this result holds and Louisville maintains its lead on Hartford, it's only 1-0. They just did begin the second half. But if this holds and Louisville wins, Pittsburgh would also then clinch a home playoff game.
Love to see it here for Pittsburgh and all these great fans at Highmark Stadium. They can come back next week and enjoy it all over again. You said probably against Hartford or Loudoun.
Assuming
the result's
a tie here, just for sake of argument, it'll be Hartford. If Pittsburgh scores late and wins here, then they would jump up to 3rd, and the opponent would be Loudoun. There's also a world in which Pittsburgh wins and Hartford comes back to win against Louisville, and then that throws all sorts of different variables into the equation. But the simplest terms, it'll be either Hartford here or Loudoun here. Just depends on whether Pittsburgh ties or wins. Tie means Hartford, win means Loudoun. And I don't mean disrespect to Ryan Martin and that Loudoun group, but if you're Pittsburgh, you'd probably rather win and face Loudoun than that Hartford team.
Yeah, I think also Loudoun have gone off the boil the last sort of month or so. Ryan Martin's done a great job getting them to the playoffs for the first time in their history. But there was a stage when they looked like they were the top of all the other teams besides Lou City and Charleston. And then recently they've lost a few important games and they're not quite as effective. So, yeah, I think you would rather play them than Hartford, but they're both very good teams.
You get into a very slippery slope when you're looking to pick your opponent.
Yeah,
Let's just say that.
Yeah. Whoever you face is going to be tough. But you have home ground advantage if you're Pittsburgh, and that is massive. In this tight pitch, with these fans and conditions that Pittsburgh Riverhounds players know so well, they're a hard team to beat.
Sets up as a corner for Pittsburgh. Pardon me, a throw down near the corner flag. Fast start in Texas, San Antonio and El Paso. They both scored in the 7th minute. It is 1-1 with the goal less than a minute apart. That game may mean nothing to Phoenix's chances when all is said and done. But if Phoenix do score a winning goal, it means more. Because a San Antonio win in that game, when a Phoenix win here, and Phoenix all of a sudden goes from are we in, are we out, to hosting a playoff game next week. Although, as we say, that's not necessarily a good thing. They've had a better record on the road this season than they've had at home.
I'm sure the fans would love to see a playoff match. So from the fan point of view, it would be good.
And a free kick coming now for Phoenix.
Rakowski, that one save from Augie Williams will be the stand-up moment for the man in green there for Phoenix Rising. Very good save. And if it keeps a clean sheet, he'll certainly get a pat on the back from his defenders for that.
Corner again for Pittsburgh.
Set piece. I'm just wondering if Sean Suber's decided he's going to come up and do what he did a couple of games ago. Won it a header at the near post from a corner to help beat Indy 11. Is this his moment?
Comes out to Walty, not his moment there. Griffin, Mertz, Robbie Mertz, sample deflected. That might have been in at the far post, and we'll never know. Blocked in front and gathered by Rakowski.
Was a good opportunity, but well played. Recycled so well by Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Robbie Mertz, good cross. Bradley Sample was going for that post, just inside the post, and but for the block. That's probably got Rakowski beat. Had the power, probably the direction. But nice recycling by Pittsburgh Riverhounds, as they've done for most of this game, just getting good opportunities in the box. And hasn't been their night in front of goals, perhaps, but they've certainly created the opportunities.
Second time tonight that Rafa Shias has put his body in the way near or on the goal line. Earlier denying Augie Williams, now there we think denying Bradley Sample of what would have been a goal. Again, both these teams at this point content. Pittsburgh hosts a playoff game next week with this result, coupled with Louisville beating Hartford at the moment 1-0 in the 54th minute. Though that game, again, far from over, and all it would take is one Hartford goal and a tie there in order for Pittsburgh to not host a playoff game next week. So it's a slim margin. And on the other side, Phoenix in with a draw, inching toward that mark. Dennis floats it up. Dick has it. The other thing to be careful of here if you're Pittsburgh is if Phoenix scores late, then it doesn't matter what happens between Louisville and Hartford. If you lose this game, you have no ability to host a playoff game next week. So they have to just make sure they keep that 0 and at the least tie this game. That's where we get into the strategy talk we had from earlier, as far as will these teams just sort of say thank you with the 0-0 draw and move on.
Well, time's almost up, so I think whatever happens from here, both teams probably are happy with the result as it stands. Although Pittsburgh, again, they'll look back and think we had chances to win it by 1, maybe 2 goals in front of our home crowd. I don't think they'll be necessarily unhappy with the draw.
Chipped over from Griffin. Danny Griffin.
He's some player, Danny Griffin. 186 appearances, all comps since 2020. He's only missed 2 games in that time. You see that little flick over his shoulder. Chests it down and then gets the shot in. That's good play in itself, but he's only missed 2 games in 186. Great professionalism there from Danny Griffin.
And his brief hiatus away from Pittsburgh in 2023 when he was with Huntsville City of MLS Next Pro, but quickly thereafter rejoined Pittsburgh halfway through that season. Told it was going to be 3 minutes of stoppage time, but we'll see if they tack on a 4th minute with the current injury on the Phoenix side. If this ends as a draw, then it gets interesting for Phoenix. We know with a draw they can't finish higher than 5th. Their only way to finish in 4th was with a win and an El Paso loss. 3 minutes of stoppage time, now confirmed by the way. So we know it's no better than 5th for Phoenix. If San Antonio wins, they fall to 6th. If Colorado Springs wins, they could fall to 7th. So it could be anywhere in that 5 to 7 range, and all of a sudden for Phoenix, they cannot dip below 7th. They're 4 points better than Orange County. So we don't know if it'll be 5th, 6th, or 7th if and when this finishes as a draw, but we know it's somewhere in that range for Phoenix Rising, which would mean, as it stands, either El Paso, New Mexico, or Sacramento on the road. I think the neutrals and the fans of the league, and the fans probably of these two teams, would hope for Phoenix and New Mexico. The long-standing rivalry those two clubs have, and we saw that meeting in the playoffs last year when Phoenix lost on the road against New Mexico.
Charlie Dennis doesn't get his 3rd goal in a row. Mind you, then neither does Sean Suber.
Not yet.
Not yet.
A minute to go, Gary.
There is a minute to go.
That final minute of stoppage now. We saw the night start tight with these two teams not wanting to give anything. It opened up a little bit in the middle portion of the game, and then as it's gotten later, it's tightened again. Phoenix in with a draw. Pittsburgh likely, not guaranteed, but likely to host a playoff game next week with a draw, assuming Louisville holds on to win over Hartford, as you'd maybe expect them to, given the way this season's gone.
And I guess for interim coach Rob Vincent, it's 2 wins and a draw out of 3 matches. You'd be pretty happy with that level of performance. Just take Bob Lilly's team into the playoffs and hopefully a home match as well.
Beyond 3 minutes, all eyes on Matthew Corrigan. I don't think either side would really have an argument if and when that final whistle blows, given what's at stake. It seemed for a little while they'd both be content with this scoreline. Sample, Barnes, maybe one last effort here for Pittsburgh. Hurry to get it upfield. A glance at the watch from Matthew Corrigan. Now Vactor plays it up to Etu. Etu for Walty. One back by Phoenix. Throw for Pittsburgh taken quickly. Mertz. Back out to Walty. Can he get a service in? No, it's deflected. And there's the final whistle. We finished tonight as we started, scoreless between Pittsburgh and Phoenix. They're both quite all right with it. As it stands, Pittsburgh would host a playoff game next week, and Phoenix have officially clinched a playoff spot.
Congratulations to Phoenix Rising, and certainly to Pittsburgh Riverhounds, assuming that Lou City do get the win and they get their home match. So it'll all be done again for Riverhounds back on this ground in a week's time. And Luke Biassi, well, get a really, really good game today.
Luke Biassi, man of the match presented by Modelo, and a lot of those opportunities in the early going, was the brightest player of the night for the Riverhounds. Hit the post, had a shot saved. He was really the only one who struck any fear into either goalkeeper the way this game went.
Pretty much. I think there was a moment for Augie Williams where Patrick Rakowski made a decent save, but Luke Biassi, coming from a sort of a wing-back position, is extra special that he gets in, hits the post, has shots going wide. Nice attacking play, given that he also has to do his defensive duties.
Oh, We'll wrap things up here in a moment as it finishes scoreless between Pittsburgh and Phoenix. It's maybe not the most pleasant result to the neutral who we've had with us tonight, but it's a result both these teams are more than happy with. Pittsburgh, as it stands, hosting a playoff game. Phoenix, into the postseason, finishes 0-0.
Listen up, football fans. You won't want to miss this.
Right now, new Bet365 customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So you can turn that $200 into something bigger when you bet on money line, spread, totals, player props.
$200 in bonus bets when new customers bet $5. I know where I'm going to bet from now on.
Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Back here in Pittsburgh, you see some long faces for the Riverhounds players. They're tense right now. They have to sit, wait, and watch. They need Louisville to still beat Hartford in order to have a home playoff game next week. They're in. They know they're playing next week. They just don't know where or who they're playing next week. Phoenix, they're in with this draw. Take it back to the highlights now, beginning with the smooth save of the game presented by Smoothie King.
Ducar got the point he wanted, and they're in the playoffs, and that's all that matters.
Look, it wasn't, to your point, the most aesthetically pleasing game. 24 combined shots, only 3 of those hit target. But there was a job to be done by both these teams tonight, and both teams did their respective jobs.
Yeah, 10 corners to 0 just shows you how Pittsburgh Riverhounds did push. They did have the chances. They were the more aggressive side. They had 2/3 of the possession. But at the end of the day, I think Phoenix Rising pretty much came into town to get the point they needed to ensure they were in the playoffs. They got their point, and now it's happy days. All we're going to do is sit back and see who they're going to get drawn away against in the Western playoffs.
That'll do it here from Pittsburgh. Maybe not overall could be right back here next week. If Louisville holds on to beat Hartford, Pittsburgh would clinch that home playoff game. Phoenix are into the postseason as well after this scoreless draw. You can flip over on ESPN Plus or Golasso Network to catch some of the other games going on right now. It is Judgment Day in the USL Championship. The action is just getting started. Happy to have had you with us this evening. For my broadcast partner Gary Bailey and the crew that makes this possible, I'm Joe Malva saying so long for now.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent of the United Soccer League.